Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This time it's an interview. I have with me Visy over there, who is
Hello.
one of the organizers of Assembly Demo Party. Assembly just happened a couple weeks ago, and we wanted to do sort of an aftermath review, talking a little bit about, because we were chatting during and before Assembly about many different things, mostly Fantasy Console Compo, but
Yeah.
a few other things about Assembly, and it would be cool to give some sort of aftermath overview video chat about assembly overall. So hello, Vizzy.
Oh.
How are you doing? Hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, it's pretty late here. It's past 1 a.m. here in Finland,
Sorry,
but
sorry about
this is
that.
this is the demo coding time. This is the hour of the night when we finish productions here during the winter hours. So it's nothing new to me. Yeah,
Okay.
assembly was amazing this year. It was just it's just amazing to see the event grow. I think we had something like 25,000 people visit. So it is still like
Cool.
the event of the year, even though demo scene is still kind of being pushed on the side. It's still the big combos are still on the main screens there, and
I never
they
been
get
to the
people's
new
attention.
location of assembly. I know it's been there for
Yeah.
quite a while. I only
It's more
been,
like the old location because that's where it used to be in the 90s. So it's kind of
yeah,
come back to there from the ice hockey arena
but I
next
never,
door.
yeah, I only been to the Hartwell Arena. That's my only
Yeah.
knowledge of assembly. So for those who never been there, can you describe the place a little bit, and especially the
Yeah.
old school area where it fits into the whole thing?
Yeah, so essentially it's in the Helsinki Exhibition Center, which is like one of the biggest exhibition like spaces you have in Finland in general. So that's where all the big expos would be, and that's where assembly used to be held, like in mid 90s, like back when the first assembly was held in I think 96, when people kind of did like demonstrated on their feet and decided just to not be in the party hall at all and just went to the forest to drink alcohol and kind of protested the esports coming in. So this is nothing new. People have hated esports back in 96, 97 already. I guess
Holy
they were
shit.
like protesting like LAN, Quake, or Doom back then, but this is essentially like it's come back there since the ice hockey arena was sold. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
so
big exhibition space. There's multiple like halls that connect to each other. Assembly takes like most of it now. It's just grown and grown and grown. Like all the big like exhibition hall areas are essentially combined into a single big space. There's like one hall that's mostly like sponsors and like different desks and activities, almost like you would have like a game expo. Then
mhm.
you have like the main hall, which is like mostly people just like in a LAN party set up, huge long tables, mostly gamers. You have the kind of like seating arrangement like a proper like main screen set up there where you have like the grandstands where people can watch the combos on three screens. So basically you have one big screen and then two smaller screens cloning the same image on the side, so you
Ah,
have pretty
okay.
good view on all sides. Then we
Was
have
this
like a
was this
separate
part of
area.
the was this part of the widescreen that you had? Because I noticed that this
Yeah,
year there
that's
was
where the
no.
widescreen was on previous year. So we had like an ultra wide setup that basically took all three screens and made like a huge like ultra wide aspect ratio. But yeah, this year we just had like regular like 16 by 9 aspect ratio and two clones of it. And then we also have a different area in the other hall called the scene lounge, which is essentially more like a chilled out area where all the kind of the smaller compos are held there, and that's like a good place to watch the music compos and stuff, and all the seminars and live speaking events,
Hmm.
people from Remedy and stuff like that coming in to kind of just walk through. And I think Navis also had a seminar this year showing off all the motion capture technology they used in the ASD demo. So there was a bunch of different kind of technical and artistic presentations as well there. So that's kind of how it works these days. Like thanks to a lot of the Finnish demo scene activists in the assembly organizing, they managed to kind of have this like a separate small demo party inside the
How
assembly.
many demo scene related organizers are there in the assembly?
Well,
About a
I would
dozen.
I would count most of us in the compo crew, so that's like 20 people
Hmm.
almost. Plus, then there's the people doing the sing lounge, and that's probably like 5 to 10 people more on that, and a lot of just like more or less active people and kind of hang around people on the scene. Obviously, are have always been organizing at assembly. This year, one of the funniest things was that Pehu, the guy who used to be the main organizer since like 93, 94 with as Abbas of Future Crew. He was actually a visitor for the first time this year because
And
he
he
retired
actually he was
from
on the
assembly
podium.
organizing last year.
He was on the podium, like he finally won something instead of being the guy giving it
Yeah,
away.
he helped the design on the Pyrotech project. So essentially, he had credits on the second place demoscene entry. Demo
Wow.
Compo entry, so that was pretty good. But yeah, he had like a premium like PC like desk space and everything, so he had a proper like PC ticket and all that. So he finally got to visit his own event, which was funny to see.
But get the visitor experience after like
Yeah.
decades of being like
Well, yeah,
organized.
he's the one who basically kept at it the longest. So hats off to him. He was always kind of championing us in the compo crew and making sure the combos always had a place in there. So it was great to have
Nice.
those old school guys in there, making sure that the thing is done
Nice,
correctly.
nice. So a few things that I wanted to clarify. There was no widescreen this year. Can you tell us why, and is it coming back?
Yeah, I think it was more like a thing that we try out. Assembly is always kind of open to just trying
Just
new things
testing
and
something?
experimenting with things. And probably, I don't know exactly the reasons why it didn't come back, but I would guess it was an experiment we did for 1 year and then we'll probably do something else. So I personally kind of like sticking to the 16 by 9 because that's what people have at home. They can easily
Hmm.
test that with their own monitors, and having the two clones also gives you a nice view from the kind of angled positions on the side, so you cover the whole hall pretty well with the three screens, and they are gigantic, so they definitely get to the same size, like maybe not revision or the biggest screen on breakpoint size, but it's still pretty good, and the
Mm.
audio is way better than what it used to be in the ice hockey arena, where the audio was kind of infamously bad.
Mm. Okay, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so
Another, I
it's
think,
it's a trade-off.
yeah, but I was curious if there like if there are any plans to have it back like as a one-time thing again in the future, but I'm guessing probably not.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask about it for next year. It would be really cool. I didn't have a chance to try it myself, so just trying
Hmm.
to code something for that would be very interesting just to try out, see what's
Okay.
possible on that.
What about the live coding stuff? This year it didn't happen as well. Like, I heard there were
No,
no people really taking that mantle in terms of organization of putting it
yeah, I
working,
think
which
we
is a
would have
shame because
needed
Assembly has
somebody.
been having some live coding stuff for quite many years.
Yeah, I think we would have needed somebody who would have been willing to take that on and just do that. Like I was definitely too busy to even think about anything like that. But just organizing fantasy console on 1K and
Mhm.
4K and helping with the other combos and all that. So yeah,
Okay,
hopefully next year. People definitely seem to be kind of bummed out it didn't happen, and we're looking forward to it. So that just goes to show there's always going to be something if you drop it that somebody was counting on that to happen again. So it's
uh,
always hard, but you kind of have to pick your battles because this has never been a thing we've organized ourselves in assembly organizing. It's always been like okay, here's a person who maybe is in organizing, maybe is just a demo scene person and comes in to do it for us. So it
mhm.
really needs to kind of have that self-driven thing there to work.
Okay, hopefully next year it will come back.
Hopefully so.
Let's talk about the compos then, and I guess we
Yeah.
should talk about the fantasy console first because it was one of
Yeah,
the
we both
new
took part in
compos.
that one.
We both took part
So
in it. A
I
really
was the
good compo.
organizer of the compo. I
I
did
was
the did
I
the
was a
fifth place demo with Tobach, and yeah, you worked on the winner actually.
Yeah, I was a bit scared that I was like recruiting everyone who was active in the TIC 80 scene and we wouldn't have any competition besides you. I heard about your demo with Toback and I was like, okay, there's going to be one other good demo and then I
Yeah,
don't
and
know what's
then there
happening.
was
But the
Rise
combo
by
is really
Theos,
good.
which was amazing to see. Feller had already been also been working on a tick demo in secret, so that's great to see that we got a real combo and we got a split third place with the exact same number of points, which is always like that's a nail biter when you have the exact same number of points on a shared third place. So that was a close one.
And stuff also for the Pico 8, not just TIC 80. So
Yeah.
all fantasy consoles is really
Maybe
cool.
my favorite Pico 8 demo ever, the Neon Demone by rawArgon. That just
Yeah.
like really hit my kind of sense of what I like about these kind of demos that are a bit of abstract but have like a very kind of cohesive art style and music that just fits perfectly. I really dug that
And there was
demo.
that
So
a
that was
homage to hackers as well. That was really cool as
that
well.
was funny. They definitely captured the likeness of the actors well in that as well. I could easily tell. Okay, that's definitely supposed to be Johnny Lee Miller.
That was really cool compo, and you know,
Yeah.
my aim was totally to win the compo, so I tried to make a crowd pleasing thing and
Yeah.
get as many people on board, trying
I was like when I saw the Gerbera scene and then I saw in the credits
that
that
one was
Casman
really
coded that like man
that one
that
was really well made.
he's too good. He's
That
too
was
good at
gigabates.
this.
That was
It's like a
gigabates.
perfect demake of that demo's
Yeah,
best scene.
he
like
did both.
man he
Both
can he
Melon
can
and
do a
Gerbera
great
was made by
demake.
him. Both of them were really good. And he also
Yeah.
did the Ceasefire, I think, which was also quite good.
Yeah, that was a great choice for the credits scene. One of my favorite demos from Assembly as well. So that was really fun to see you referring to that one.
That
Just
we
like you just kind of put that mental image and like you just show the coolest effect from a demo for 2 seconds, and you've already kind of demade the whole demo in my brain. The brain
yeah.
will fill in the rest. Just a great trick to kind of, and the audience was obviously all over it. It was really cool to see the reaction to that, and people were kind of like I think they weren't ready at the 3rd minute mark. Then it's still gonna be going for another 2 minutes, and it's gonna get better.
That's another thing that we should talk about because originally the time limit was 3 minutes, and once
Yeah.
we realized that, I was bugging you. Is this a real time limit? Can
Well,
we
you made
maybe
a very
extend it
good
a little
case on
bit?
why that should go to 5 minutes. Like obviously we just have to set some sort of a limit because
And
we
all the other
all
compos
have
had
like
longer
fixed
time
blocks for
limits.
these combos. Like
Yeah.
either we have like hour and a half or 2 hours, so we kind of have to kind of guess how many entries we're gonna get. So yeah, I think next year we're gonna go with the 5 minutes and expect to get like 10 to 12 entries and run
Uh,
it for an
to
hour.
compensate, short film compo only had like 3 entries, so
Yeah.
in terms of
Probably the
running time,
worst like participation we've ever had in that compound, which used to be like the big one in assembly, like 2003. That was like all everybody was all over that compo, so it's really kind of went out of kind of the vogue, I guess, because of
is there
YouTube and all that. The short film compo has kind of died.
is there any rule against like homemade videos or something like that? Like you only
No,
accept
that's
animation now?
exactly the thing. That's the famous thing about assembly short
Yeah,
film
which
compo.
I
That's where
kind of
people
hated.
put all the silly short whole videos. So they don't do them anymore. I guess people just start posting them on TikToks these days. They don't do these on
Hmm.
compos. It's kind of a something we lost along the way.
The
I have a soft
pandemic.
spot for those silly ones, especially like the really stupid ones. I just love those. To me, they are nostalgic like old cartoons because I watched them 1,000 times when I was like a teenager and look first getting into the demo scene. It's obviously that was like one of the first things I saw was like all this silly stuff the Finnish people had made on assembly short film.
Maybe if you're Finnish, you get more out of them. Whenever I was watching
Yeah.
them at assembly, was like,
Well, it's the same as with me with Breakpoint or Revision when I go to the
yeah,
real
with the
world
German
compound. There's
humor.
the video entries with the
Yeah.
German comedy. It's like
Sure, that's
uh,
great.
I
I
don't
wish
I
they
don't
had
think I'm drunk
subtitles.
enough for this comedy yet.
And then the German tells you, no, it's better without subtitles.
So I,
you
I
don't wanna,
kind of
you
feel the
don't
same
wanna
thing,
know.
but there's been some exceptions to that rule, especially that the parody of Jumalauta Prod that really just absolutely killed me. That was probably Kusma or who was the person who made those. But those were really funny. So there's always gonna be an expect like a exception to this rule, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Another compo that I wanted to talk about is the 1K, which is a
Yeah.
long-running compo in assembly, and it's the only demo
Yeah.
party that has a 1K compo, I think. Apart, maybe Love Bite has a 1K compo as well this year. Um,
Yeah. We've
but
kind
it's
of
like
kind of made it like as long as people send entries, we're gonna have this combo because every year I expect there's not gonna be more than a few, and it's always better. So it keeps improving.
and it's always pretty good quality. I mean, a lot of entries, so
Yeah.
it's a good entry point. Like if you're a newcomer, it's a good place. You just make an effect, and you can quickly make an intro out of it. And if you're more advanced, you can try to squeeze music into it, try to have some
Yeah.
sort of direction into it. So it's a good middle point for people to quickly do something.
For sure.
And we have we have gotten quite a few good entries out of it. Poi has been doing a lot of great stuff on that compo, and
Yeah.
Seven as well, and they both
Yeah,
went head to
Fulcrum
head
and Ribbon
against.
have basically
Yeah,
kept the whole combo up for many years in running now, which is just amazing to see them return year after year and kind of fight it out. It's gonna
Poi
be
was asking me,
hopefully.
"Do you know any dirt on the on assembly? Is anyone participating?" I'm like, "I don't know, but it's a pretty famous compo, so you
Yeah,
people are probably going to do something."
yeah. Seven's a very kind of common guest in the combo base, testing his 1K. Sometimes after the deadline, kind of trying to fix whatever bugs he has on Nvidia. This year, I didn't see him around the combo base, so probably his entry just worked, which was
Or
an
maybe
amazing
maybe
one.
he got an
Lost in
Nvidia
Neon.
card.
Yeah, Lost in Neon was really one of the highlights of that combo. Like, I'm just always surprised that his shading just looks like it's on a completely different level than anybody else who makes these size coded intros. Like, I'm always so amazed on what he can do on the shading part. Like, even this time, the kind of, I guess you could call them like a neon strands or splines or chords. It just looks so like smooth and lovely shadowing on them and everything. It just looks wonderful and runs really well.
Yeah, it was a good comp as well. And third place, Memories from Pasila Woods also got a lot of love in terms of voting.
That's a
And some
funny
people
funny
were like,
title.
what's up with Pasila Woods? Well,
Yeah,
that's a reference to too
that's where we
much demo
drink at
scene.
Boozodrome. Yeah, that's the reference to Boozodrome Hills, as we call them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like the fact that people are doing music now in one case and not just random MIDI, like concatenate random notes in the MIDI, like actually good music.
Mhm.
Ribbon especially is just absolutely killing it on the audio synchronization sound. And how do you get like 3 minutes of a proper sound and visual out of a 1K? Like I met a few 4Ks and I think 1Ks are basically so much more difficult.
Yeah.
4Ks you have a lot more like room to play in.
Yeah, definitely. And even then, like, and I hear this discussion a lot when I talk with Super Rogue, like defining the different categories of size coding. Like 128 bytes, you can just do this effect. 156 bytes, you can
Yeah.
sort of do an effect with a little progression. 512 is like you can make a whole thing out of it. 1K is like insanity, you can make a
Yeah.
whole demo. And 4K is
And
like the world.
and very interesting to see that browsers are always cropping on it up in this combo, so that the PNG dropper trick
Yeah.
is actually pretty good, and you can fit a lot of complex stuff into 1K of compressed JavaScript and WebGL. So
Yeah, you get a
just very
free
interesting to see
free
what you get out of
decompressor,
that.
so that's always a winner to
Exactly.
get
You
some
have the
extra
browser to
bytes.
decompress for you. Yeah.
Um, One of the questions that I wanted to ask to you about was: is there ever a consideration to have a tiny size coding stuff at assembly, or are you already too
Like
packed
live
with?
coding,
No, size coding in terms of lower
like
than
by
1K,
hmm.
like
It's
Love Byte
never
has.
really. I don't. If it's ever come up, I don't think it's ever gone below 1K. Like 4K used to be a compo even back in, I think,
Hmm.
like at least people made 4Ks even back in 90s at assembly. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Like a 256 bytes intro compo at assembly. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe when people start doing music on that side, we're going towards that at
There
least.
are some productions with music
Yeah,
in
definitely.
256
Like
bytes,
the
so
MPU 401 trick works definitely on that size. I've done it as well, so it is doable. But yeah, I think like 1K is a pretty good sweet spot for the modern systems. At least it seems to guarantee a lot of entries, which is great.
mhm. I think the main issue with assembly is probably that there's so many compos already that it's hard, to
Yeah,
fit more in,
it is.
which is
And
the
this year
problem with
we had a new one. We had a AI graphics, which we didn't have to try that before. So there's always
how
something
did that
new.
go?
People are
Do you think it
Well, there
was
was 30
successful?
entries, so I would say that we went pretty well. People were really active. Like I think the just the bar of entry was so low on that, which is great to just see a lot of different kinds of people taking part in that combo. Even I took part and I got disqualified because I didn't read the rules properly. I forgot my work staged images.
I considered participating, but since I was remote, I ended up not submitting anything because I also
Yeah,
I fool around with AI art. But yeah,
yeah.
it was a pretty
This
good
is probably a
contest.
good opportunity to also kind of reveal that all the graphics in my demo, the private investigator, they were all made with AI.
Mm.
Like I didn't ask any graphics from anybody except the font I found on like a Spectrum fonts page, and I credited the guy
So,
who did that. But everything else I made with a custom pipeline I built for the demo. I just wanted
but
to see if I can do that and not get caught. And nobody said anything about AI, so I didn't get caught. So I would say mission accomplished. My pipeline is good enough that nobody can tell it that it's AI.
how did you generate the images? Was it based out of a specific style, or was it
Basically,
like
every
text-based?
image I just started from scratch. Like I use Comfy UI, so basically I just have like a very complex looking node interface to do it, and then for every image I just started from scratch and figure out what I need and kind of chose the correct aspect ratio and then just tweak whatever post-processing steps I needed on that to get the image I wanted. So I
And then
used a bunch of
converted
different
it?
tools. I used Stable Diffusion XL, I used Dithertron, I used a few other dithering tools I got. I used MS Paint, I used Irfan View. So it's not like I pressed the button and then I'm ready to use image came out. It's more like
You
I
said a pipeline.
I
A
used AI
pipeline is
and
pressing
then
a button.
yeah, it's more like you get 90% there, and then I do the final steps manually to get exactly what I wanted because it still won't get me exactly what I want at the end of it.
Yeah, I did a couple of those AI art images for my previous TIC 80 demo, Robot Zombie,
Mm,
because I wanted some filler artwork and I couldn't get a pixel artist to do anything. So I tried a few things, and it does take a little bit of work in terms of resizing, making sure it fits the constraints that you can show
yeah,
stuff on,
definitely.
and then you need to remove all the background to make sure that it's and then convert to the limited number of colors, make sure it looks good. It's a minimal work, but it's still
Yeah,
you need to adapt a few things. It's not just
definitely.
give me
And it
good
helped that
graphics.
I've done a lot of this conversion to 8 and 16-bit graphics, making demos and games for
Hmm.
those platforms and pick up 8 stuff before, like manually converting graphics from high color to that. So I already have it pretty well how to do, like, okay, I'm going to convert this to 4 colors or 16 colors or whatever. I know the limitations and what the tools do well and what they don't, and like which like dithering algorithms will probably work best with this image. So all that kind of comes into play when doing this, and I was really happy with the end result. Like I could basically work on something that was akin to having the main graphics be in higher resolution, almost like vector graphics, and then based on that do like a manual dithering pass on everything to get the exact final image I wanted. So I was really happy with it. I was just like, okay, I'm just not gonna be dependent on having to either draw this myself from scratch or work with a graphician, like person doing the graphics who might not even like know what I want, because I'm usually kind of nebulous on asking what I want. I don't really know what it is until I see it myself. So I just found this like as much as I can just work on the visuals by myself, the better, because usually I get things completed that way than trying to do them with a big group, because sometimes that works, sometimes it just won't work with the way I like to do it, which is I just change my mind and scrap half of it and start just from scratch. And that's very difficult with a group because a lot of people don't like their work to be scrapped
Yeah, yeah,
started
that's
from scratch. So
that's
then
what I
I
was
have
gonna
to
say.
kind of
Like
play
they
with
went
that.
through the effort, and now you're just not using it.
Yeah,
You sort of have to use it, otherwise they'll get
yeah.
pissed at
So
you.
I love the kind of collaboration where I can just do, okay, I'll just do the visuals and you do the music, and then like you'll have free reign on the audio side and I'll have free reign on the visuals, and I don't have get any final approval from anybody else on that.
It's the trade-off of working alone and working with a group, so that you have to sometimes relinquish your vision and embrace other
Yeah.
people's
And obviously,
concepts.
I've made a lot of mistakes in previous projects where I didn't give proper credit to people or give them the proper like editorial control and over the project and ownership over the control over the project. So obviously, I don't want to be an asshole like that. I've made my mistakes. I'm mentally paying for them now. I still feel the shame of those bad choices in my life, but still, the fact is, life goes on, and, and demos are a fourth of our therapy.
That
And
only
making
happens to
more of
people who
them
make
will hopefully
demos.
lead into
Yeah.
more better made demos that make people happier. So it's like
Okay.
we've all, if you do this long enough, I think everybody has the chance to learn
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
things.
It's one of the soft skills that you learn with the demo scene is learning
Yeah.
to work a bit better in team, or knowing where your
Oh,
limits
definitely.
are in terms of
Yeah.
what you personally can do and what you are dependent on from someone else.
Yeah.
So it helps you get that soft skill a bit more in place.
I just have no patience for people who are like AI haters. I just don't even want to engage. Like they don't really seem to be offering much to the discussion anymore, especially people who are coming into it very aggressively and ignoring what's able to be achieved with it. Like I think it's really cool that you're actively kind of pushing it, that this is as legitimate as any other way of making creative content.
Well, I think the main concern, playing a bit devil's advocate, I think the main concern is the copyright and the abusing of
Oh, for sure.
people's intellectual property without their having given consent to build those models. And I can understand that, and we do need some legislation to keep up with that.
Yeah, there is that, but we're also talking about the scene that was born out of piracy. So I find that so hypocritical that I can't find it not funny, because demoscene was literally built out of breaking copyright and stealing software
and doing
and
whatever you
giving
wanted
it for free to other people, and also making digital graffiti, like making your name the largest, telling you that you're the one who made the crime. So to me it's like almost like you're just like pissing on the history of demoscene being against
but
this stealing.
it is also 30 years later, so I mean we have
That.
grown, like we're no longer teenagers, so we do have
But the irony
more...
is a bit delicious there,
yes
though.
yes I agree it's definitely...
But yeah, I understand that artists need to be able to like earn their living through art, and yeah, obviously I think like it's not a simple question on like how do you do the ownership question and who the share of the wealth, who does it belong to, and how do those people get paid. Like I don't have the answers, but I also don't believe that the banning these would be the way to stop the bad people from getting access to this. I'd rather just have it democratized and have everybody have access to it, and then we'll sort out the problems as they kind of crop up. And like I've just seen so much people finding joy and happiness in creation the first time in many years through AI. Like I heard of grannies writing stories about their grandkids using new chat GPT. Like who am I to say that's not what they were missing from their creative life? Like to some people this is going to be the way they unlock their creativity for sure.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So AI graphics definitely gonna keep going at Assembly, you think?
I think so, because like you don't usually get 30, 35 entries in a compo. I think we had to disqualify quite a bit there, and we still had 30 entries.
I think AI is getting a bit intertwined with the other stuff. I think in a couple of years we won't be making the distinction. Same way that we had like 3D renders and we stopped having ray tracing, compos, because we would just do freestyle graphics and it combines all of the stuff together, and we just ask people to describe the tools that they used. To me, I think that's the best approach, but I know a lot of party organizers disagree with that, and they rather have a specific AI graphics category. I think both work, so we're still experimenting.
Bit weird is where do you draw the line of like what's a procedural generation tool that's like allowed and what isn't. Like how complex has the network to be, what does the training data have to be. So it's just kind of opening up a lot of interesting questions. To me these are not like, oh, the horror, everything's burning, everything's gonna go to shit. It's more like, oh, so many wonderful opportunities, finally something's shaking up the scene again and kind of rising up us from our slumber. Like it's time to innovate again, it's time to push the edge on what's possible. And that's what I'm been trying to do with my graphics in my demos. The way I'm doing it, I'm just not even gonna like advertise it in the demos itself. Like if people pick up on it, they'll pick up on it. To me, if I can hide the fact it's AI, even better.
I wouldn't hide it. Like when I started doing some stuff with AI, I usually I did some before AI became like this. You generate something from a prompt. I used to do some style transfer stuff, and I used that in quite a few demos, and it was pretty explicit. And there were some concerns in terms of copyright about that. Some people voiced those concerns, but overall I think people didn't really mind much. It was just a new tool, and you could do stuff with this tool that wouldn't be possible 10-20 years ago. like getting 30 images done in all these different styles that would be impossible to do 20 years ago. If you asked a musician and a graphician to do that for you, he would tell you to go fuck yourself because it's too much work just to just to test if it looks good or not.
Exactly. And
So
one thing
yeah.
I really like is to kind of just kind of mix and match techniques and keep people guessing. It's almost like maybe if you do a good effects movie, you want to do practical effects, you want to do some CGI paint overs, you want to do some digital matte paintings, you want to mix up your techniques so you're like the viewer's eye doesn't get trained. Okay, this is unreal, this is real, this is unreal, this is real. Like when you constantly keep mixing up the technique, they keep guessing, like I can't tell how that's done, oh that's different, but I can't tell how it's different than the previous cut or whatever. So that's what I try to do with demos. I just try to keep the people guessing, like how is that even possible, how is that happening, how is that done, how does that work. Like obviously I'm not the best coder in the world, but this is maybe my way of doing it. And obviously I'm a bit of a troll. I like when people get angry when I do demos. I'm very easy at making people angry with my productions in general because of all the noise and glitch stuff, so that's already usually been taken care of. So this demo I tried to like do the opposite. I tried to do the most conservative design I've done in years, and I think that still worked pretty well. People really liked it. So all the glitchiness and all the weird stuff was now in the behind the scenes and not in the forefront of the demo.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting totally sidetracked from assembly. I just wanted to add a small thing that this also reminds me of when photoshopping collages were banned from assembly. I remember Feather was big into making Photoshop stuff, and he couldn't submit anything to assembly. Like he made the covers for Mind Candy DVDs, and he couldn't submit any of those images to any compos because oh no, this is just you're just copying stuff around in Photoshop. It's not real art.
So that kind of shows you how things change over the years and attitudes become different as kind of generations go forward. And to me, I kind of reject every single purity test that the scene tries to throw at me, because usually it's people who have a very narrow view on what's the proper way to create and
I
be
think it's
creative.
okay that
So
people
I
have
just
different
reject that.
visions. It's
Yeah,
okay that people have
it's fine
different
to have those,
visions.
but I don't have to accept them to be the only correct one.
And
I
that's
definitely want people to have those opinions, but I don't have to accept them as the only truth of the scene, because I found the best way is to make is your own way, just to do it your own way, just do whatever you want, and if people like it, they like it or they hate it. People seem to like it more than they hate it.
I agree. I agree 100%. Let's go back to assembly and talking about the compos.
For sure.
So 4K intro compo. So the 4K intro compo is also pretty good.
Very
A
good.
lot of entry this year's 11 entries I'm seeing here. A lot of familiar names and some people that were inactive that also came back again. The winner entry was Monoscan by McBurrito.
McBurroBit. Yeah.
Close enough.
Very kind of classic 4K of the previous years. 64K style has this kind of a almost like a Raymarch 3D fractal look to it. Like I'm surprised this won, to be honest. Like it wasn't the most interesting production. I guess it was just like the most crowd pleasing one, but to me it was like, oh, I've seen 10 of these productions already.
And in second place, we had Tomograph by Faemiyah, which was Linux made production.
Yeah, I think multi-platform. It had like Windows and FreeBSD ports on it as well. But yeah, this one very like I know the guys really well from other years and have interacted with them at assembly at other events as well, and just wonderful to see that kind of organic scan of a creature on the bed and the ceiling lights. Just like things we couldn't even dream about 10 years ago in 4Ks. These guys are just doing it, and it's just so wonderful to see that you're doing 4Ks that essentially look like 64Ks now. It just boggles the mind what's possible with some clever algorithmics there.
We don't have a 64K compo category anymore at assembly, but we still have the 64K spirit.
Nabis was sad about that in the demo jury. He was expecting to see 64K intros, and he was disappointed.
We did see. I was curiously surprised to see 464Ks happening at Evoke. I was expecting the compo would be merged as it usually is, and there were actually some, and they were actually decent. They were not just compo fillers all the way. So
that's good.
there's still people making 64Ks, and Japanese people definitely are.
Oh yeah, they've been killing it on that.
Yeah, they're hitting the button saying, okay, 64K platform is still alive. Someone please come back and do some more stuff again on 64K, because
Yeah.
it's definitely
I
still the
really love
platform.
that they're doing like almost like story demos in 4K, which is what I wanted to do on 8 bits always. Like,
Hmm.
can we do a story demo in 4K? So when people attempt to do that, it's always like, oh, this is the one I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool combo. Also,
I want to
the
talk about the
comeback
third
of
place as
Virne
well.
of Kooma on 8th place. I have to point that out. We haven't seen him for a while.
Oh,
It's awesome
Sekhmet,
to
I
see
haven't
Kooma
seen that
come
one.
back. Yeah,
I d-
it was very Virne, like experimental, simple, but man, I just love seeing him back because he's like one of my favorite coders ever.
yeah,
Especially
yeah.
Stickman's World on MS DOS is probably one of his finest demos ever, and one of my favorites in
64K.
any. Yeah, I love that one. The music is great, the animation's great, and you had a nice tribute to that in your demo on Fantasy
Yep.
Console as well.
I
Yeah,
want to talk about the third place from Silvia, because they're newcomers to the demo scene,
yeah,
and
this
they've been
was
releasing a lot of
wonderful.
stuff, and they got third place at assembly. So it's really cool
Yeah.
to
And
see
this
that
was like a
happening.
little love story kind of a demo, so I
Hmm.
think it was like really easy for the audience to understand what's going on. Not that abstract, but still very beautifully rendered, and the music was passable and fit the kind of theme and the mood of it. So just wonderful to see that. Okay, if that's the first theme, like let's see the third demo. So that's definitely a very strong start to
they
anybody
they
to get into the scene.
they had made some I think 80 stuff before, but this was the first 4K that they made.
Yeah, really wonderful stuff, I think.
So yeah.
And it's always cool to see somebody just do modeling in 4K. Like you could instantly tell what those were supposed to be, like the little male and female creature, I guess you could call them.
Hmm. Nice. So other compos, music compos, there's always a lot of them. Dance music compo, listening music compo.
Yeah.
I didn't pay much attention to that. Did you pay attention to that or not really?
Well, obviously,
I
I did point out that DJ Yoge was once again there on the top three. He's been in a common sight in the music composite assembly.
Mhm.
He's a pretty good composer. Nobi taking the win, which is awesome. Obviously, like a friend of mine, great composer. Just always just
Yeah,
amazing,
they're great
different
producer.
types and different
I love Nobi.
genres of music.
Nobi
I'm just
producing
constantly
music is
surprised what
crazy.
comes out of that. Like you never know what new genre will be tried when Nobi does something. So it's just wonderful to see that.
And second place, Robots by Outron. I'm not familiar with Outron, but
Oh,
congratulations
me
to
neither,
them
but
as well.
well done. Yeah, track music. I'm very familiar with the top three there. rawArgon also did a fantasy console entry, I believe. Yeah, Neon Demone was also by them, so that's a pretty good, awesome demo and a great track. And Lama is like probably one of the best trackers in Finland at the moment. Like he does live gigs in Tampere and plays like his tracker stuff live, which is
Mm,
rare as it is. And I think he only does tracker music. He doesn't use any other tools. I think it just sticks to like the pretty certain limits of the tracker he's comfortable with. And man,
interesting.
he's just so great. Like what he can get out of the trackers is constantly amazes me. The complexity of composition you can do. Like him and who's the British guy the who made the Metal Gear port for Amiga?
Hoffman?
Hoffman. They are like the two greats at the moment. Like nobody can touch those two guys in the scene when it comes to tracking at this point, because tracking is kind of a lost art. It's like revision and assembly are kind of the ones that keep it hanging on, but it's obviously always had a huge scene in the internet
In
as
the
its own
90s,
thing.
yeah.
Like it never needed scene to last, but man, these kind of scene adjacent trackers, they're killing it.
And there are still a lot of newcomers just showing up, like on the demos in Discord. I always see like new person.
Yeah.
I do music. I do tracked music stuff. Did you
Yeah,
ever submit
tracking is
to?
usually the great kind of gateway into the
Yeah,
scene, because that's people usually like when they start looking at the back stuff, they find like all the old hits and then they figure out all these are old from parties.
I wonder if it's still a gateway to the scene though, because nowadays people go directly into a DAW. They don't go through the
Yeah.
whole. They use Ableton Live. They don't go through the tracker.
Maybe
They
for
don't.
the some of the chip people or people who really
Yeah,
want to stick to like 8-bit sample stuff and
yeah.
stuff like that. Who knows?
But even the chiptune scene is kind of its own thing.
It
Not
definitely
really.
it's
Not
grown
really.
into its own thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that what I want to say about this topic is like it used to be the way that people got into the demo scene, and now it's just a scene of its own. And some
Yeah,
people sometimes overlap into the demo scene and show up at demo
for sure.
parties and participate on the demo scene competitions, but most of them just stick to their own thing and their forums and their stuff, which is kind of sad but kind of understandable as well at the same point. And I kind of wish we're changing that trend to bring them back to the demo scene, and not just these communities of track music and chiptune music, but also regular music producers, that people who just
Yeah.
do music. Would be nice to have them knowing what the demo scene is, knowing
Yeah,
the
I
demo
often listen
coders,
to this like
knowing.
tracking forum compo results and just like, okay, what's the top three? And like, man, if this was a demo song, that would be the best demo ever. If this
Mhm.
was the music, like just hearing what people are able to make with trackers these days, it's just like, okay, this is a completely different level than where it was 20 years ago.
Okay, let's talk about other competitions. Freestyle Graphics was won by Darky again. He's been doing such good work. He's
Yeah,
so talented. Really good stuff. He also won Revision this year. He won Assembly
yeah,
last year.
just absolutely killing it with those graphics for sure.
Second place, Sulevi with a Commodore 64 graphics piece, also really good.
Virtual Dreams, that's not a group name you see often, but
Mhm.
some people still use that as their moniker, which is fun.
So yeah, a lot of good quality entry graphics as well in assembly, which is regular. It's normal. There's
Yeah,
always been a lot of graphics people involved participating at assembly. Fast graphics compo as well also had some pretty good
yeah,
entries.
Darky took second place on that as well.
Hmm
Maxon of Helpit Cheese just dropped out of the
That
top
was
three there, but
such a
geez,
funny intro, such a
he's
funny
great. I've been kind of
entry.
missing his wild entries, so hopefully he'll do one next year when he saw like how boring the real wild kind of was this year, or the short film was kind of non-existent. So
Hmm
we really could have used the Helpit Cheese entry in the real wild this time, or the short film. Sorry.
Yep, definitely. Um, the game compo. Did you pay any attention to the game dev competition?
Yeah, I did see at least the one Mankeli did, the stochastic gravity enjoyers, that had some cool gravity stuff. The hackers extended coalition one. I don't think I saw the other ones because that was on Thursday, and I was very busy with like the intercompos and stuff.
Hmm There were a couple good entries
I would
there.
guess Tekotuotanto had a very memey game because they're a very meme group. They always do the crowd pleaser entries.
I
So
think that was the one with the wheelbarrow that
what
they
is the
would go
steering wheel?
down. I think that's the one.
Bucket Rocket was the second one. And what is a steering wheel? So probably some
Ah,
sort of a
no, it
driving
has
game.
this. Yeah, has this synthwave aesthetic look, and it's
Oh
just
yeah, that's it.
driving
Yep,
around. Yeah.
yep, that's it.
Who needs to do? Who needs to turn? You can just drive forever.
Yeah.
What other compos we had? We
Old school
had
demo.
old school demo. That was
Yeah,
quite good
Extream broke
quality.
another dot record on the Atari ST, which is a record breaker in 2023. Is kind of a funny thing to see. Like people don't do those entries anymore, like as a kind of concept. Like here's the record breaker, but just seeing them do that was kind of funny.
Yep. And the winner was for the Scroll of Antonius by Fairlight.
Very funny demo
Yeah.
from the Swedish Fairlight guys.
I
Man,
was
I
very
actually
happy.
found this very comedic and funny. Like they just have a very kind of weird sense of humor. I went to one like summer cottage party with these guys, and they have a very left field kind of sense of humor. So this is probably one of their best so far.
And I learned who was the first Portuguese demo senior thanks to this
That was
demo.
so that was great. Like the fact how they showed like the different compo etchings or whatever they're supposed to be. Like just the whole concept was so funny, especially because in the same compo you had like a real one of these from Hedelma. You had like a Assembly 2003 Memories, which is kind of the type of demo this was kind of parody,
Hmm
which just is funny to see because you had the comparison of, okay, this is what these kind of photo slideshow memory demos will look like, and here's the parody of that in the Middle Ages or whatever.
We also had a very solid invitation for Demodulation for the MS-DOS.
Yeah, that was nice.
Demodulation was the party that's already happened. Happened the weekend after assembly, so it already happened, and it was also has quite a few good productions worth checking out. Some Faryan in Commodore 64 because we need more Faryan in the world apparently.
It won't die.
It won't die ever.
It refuses to die until the ship sinks.
And then Anguanos by RPPS as well, wrapping up this stuff. So yeah, solid competition overall, I think.
Yep. Yeah, Fairlight was playing the audience, which is great. And you were also playing the audience in your demo with that ice hockey scene. You knew what that's gonna do to people in the audience.
Yes, we definitely did brainstorming sessions like what would be the best thing to show.
That's the one.
Specific.
That's the one to do. And especially the way you did it was so like on the nose that it's just impossible not to find that funny.
Yeah, and Finland needs to be beating Sweden, otherwise he wouldn't be as good.
But I guess this kind of balanced it because the Swedish demo very Swedish demo from the Swedish chapter of Fairlight won the Oldschool Demo with more than 800 points to the next entry, so they definitely took the win easily there.
Let's talk about Real Wild. Real Wild was won by Ixnis, I think it's called, and it uses those viewers that used on the subways for controlling. We already saw some demos with those.
Old Helsinki, like this was like there was one before that was like for the very old ones, like the Siemens 80s ones with the gray lettering. This is like the more recent ones they got rid of like a few years ago, I think.
Okay.
So this is like the previous generation. So it was almost like an update of that previous demo to this. But yeah, they used all the built-in texts extremely well on that, which was funny. Like all the built-in data was essentially utilized in the demo.
Mm-hmm. And we had something for the oscilloscope as well, which was really cool to see. And
I saw this one live on the oscilloscope in the compo base, so that was a treat. I could actually watch it on a. The guy said he found it in a trash, so he just found it on a school trash. Yeah, he found the oscilloscope in a school trash apparently. So this was like a proper real world used like dumpster dived hardware and everything.
And oscilloscopes are expensive, aren't they?
Exactly. So it was probably something they were just throwing like non-digital oscilloscope away.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but that was fun to see on real hardware for sure.
And then we had the return of the digital artists who've been away for a while, and they did electroluminescence with a Raspberry Pi doing some custom LED screen, which was also cool.
Yeah, custom hardware is always great, and custom screens is like almost a tradition at Assembly. Hedelmäe kind of started it way back when. They had one where they had the screen on the tower case, then they had one that was attached to Amiga, and that kind of gave birth to this tradition that somebody does custom screen demo at Assembly. So we've had a lot of these over the years.
Okay, what compo have we not covered yet?
I think it's time to jump on
Photo Compo. Photo Compo was won by Woad of Doomsday.
Yeah, that was a great one. I really loved the winner on that. I didn't see in-game photos, so I can't really comment on those. But yeah, just the photo compo, I did sell that. That one had some cool. I did like the second one as well, the Citric Biorefringence by AK. That was really cool.
I think that's all the combos. I think
except for the demo compo, obviously.
Except for the demo compo, of course. I always forget the main juice. Very big compo, 14 entries. The quality was pretty good overall. And then, of course, AST doing a comeback after many years and doing another tour de force with the Legend of Sisyphus, which is one of some people are calling the best demo of the decade.
It definitely shows Navi's kind of growing as an artist. It's less sophomoric, less misogynistic maybe than their previous demos, less masculine in a like less fragile masculinity in this one that I really like. It really feels like they've gotten more in touch with their like more like sensitive side of their personalities with this one. So it really resonated with me. I found it really funny. Like I went to Poet, like obviously everybody will love this. Well, some people thought it was too long. There's always gonna be the person who thinks an 8 minute demo is 3 minutes too long.
You
Even
can
if it's
always
the best
press
demo in
escape.
the world, there's always somebody think it's gonna be too long. But yeah, just amazing, and just like goes to show he has a really nice motion capture pipeline to play with at work. So this kind of amazing to see that utilized. Like to me, like having actors and characters in your demos have always been kind of like a holy grail. I've been trying to get into that same kind of feeling that this demo really hits well, which is kind of you almost like have a host in your demo, like a
Hmm.
narrator, like a character you can experience the demo from within. And I find it very hard to do well, like in a way that doesn't feel like it's like really on the nose or stupid or weird or takes you out of the flow of the demo. But in this one, it just all works really well.
It's one of the things that I heard Nobi talk a lot about when we talk about direction in demos, because demo scene is a very specific way of doing direction, because on film you usually have characters,
Yeah,
and on demos you are storytelling usually without a character, like a main
yeah,
character walking around. There is no human presence. There's like if
exactly.
I when there is, you need a lot of effort to put something on. You need to model the whole thing. You lose the whole um, way body expression of stuff because it's never captured properly very well, so you can't
Yeah,
really use a human as as the main focus point of a demo. You always end up having to use abstract shapes, so this
exactly.
demo really counterpoints that and goes back to, you know, having a full human as the character and doing it realistically. It's more like a music video than
Oh,
a demo in
definitely.
a lot of ways.
This definitely takes a lot of from the kind of recent years on what music video expression has kind of turned out to be. Like a lot of the way things animate and move in a way that's supposed to kind of disturb you, especially kind of inhuman movements of the like figures that are in this, what do you call it, like the fetal position. So
Mhm.
there's obviously a lot of things there that are supposed to like trigger your very kind of fight or flight or lizard brain part of your brain, kind of just like really poke at you and make you feel feelings about it. And it was just interesting to see a demo with a safe for work mode. I don't think I've ever
Mhm.
seen that in a demo launcher before, where you can like, okay, I'm just gonna blur all the naughty bits. Like to me, like demo scene doesn't do artistic nudity well, but this one did it
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, this one did it well. I agree with that. I especially love the scene where she looked like she was covered, like the lines going across. She
Yeah,
looked like she was
yeah,
like covered in like spider webs of
yeah,
some way, like digital spider webs of some sort. That was my interpretation over it. I really like that
yeah.
part,
And
and
just
that's funny
just a
because
great
it's like
song as
it's
well. That helps.
yeah, the song was really good. What I wanted to say was that this doesn't look as good on video, so you still have to
Yeah,
run
it doesn't.
the demo on the original hardware to be able to
Yes.
get the full experience out of it. So, and I think Navius is very
And
aware
watch
of
it on a
that.
big screen as well. Like you
Yeah,
can't watch it on a monitor. This is definitely meant for an arena size screen.
yeah. Navius is very aware of that. Like he tries to make demos that are not like you wouldn't just do them on a video and do stuff like
Yeah,
that. It needs to still be run real time to get the most out of it. And I think that's
yeah,
really cool. And I think that's like the future of the demo scene as well,
yeah. I
because
really also kind of appreciated that they kind of started. Okay, it's gonna be more of the same, very standard ASD, but it's literally just the first scene, and then they're gonna break out of that mold and do something new and different, and
yeah, they
just
just wanted the
completely
reference from the
reinvent
old
their way of
demos.
storytelling in a demo. I was really impressed to see them grow as storytellers and artists,
It's been a few
and
years, so
kind of very confidently just come in and know what they have with this,
yeah,
which
definitely
kind of
disappointed.
gives a perfect contrast to the second place Pyrotech, which is a lot another letdown. I don't understand why people vote these so high, because to me these are like the most generic FX demos you can think of.
Yeah,
Like to
I've
put it
seen
in
better from
context, this
Pyrotech.
is
Yeah,
like 1.4 gigs. The Pyrotech one, Let's Stop Sisyphus is like 650 megs, so it's like a gigabyte more, and I don't see that on the screen. The
yeah.
gigabyte, I don't see it.
Maybe it was rushed. I don't know.
I don't understand people who love these demos. I don't think I've ever seen a single demo from Pyrotech that I liked. So far, they've never
Burn.
seemed to never seem to be made a demo that I liked.
I think
So
it's mostly
people
about
like them, but I don't.
it's more about the quantity of content, I think.
Definitely,
And
they are more about quantity for sure.
the way that I remember Pyrotech in my head is that they learn to do demos following the tradition of ASD, but they're trying to
Pretty
find their
much.
own voice, like the way that ASD does transitions, and stuff like that. That way of storytelling, they try to do that, but they still have a very abstract way to show it, so it doesn't really translate into a solid storyline. That's how I feel about Pyrotech usually, about their
It was very
demos.
interesting to see that in the same combo with ASD because their demo
Hmm.
was so definitely inspired, and like a lot of their demos are definitely like, okay, they're gonna try to do the ASD at assembly thing with this.
Yep. And then third place to adapt with a quick made demo, just demo
Very
it.
rushed. Sadly, we couldn't accept an update to this because we'd already recorded everything when Deeper had an update. So sadly, we had to show the party version. Very not finished one. Like probably the finished version is more polished and better, but definitely a rushed demo from them. Not as coherent and kind of like strong hitting as their previous one. So I can tell they kind of run out of time with this one.
Yep. Wake Up, Rise Up. Was this the one that was made by people like 20 years after first
Exactly. Yeah.
visiting? Yeah. That
Very
was
nice, clean design, nice texts. I like the track as well. So nothing
mhm,
special, but definitely earned
solid.
fourth place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have
Uh,
given third place to this or adapt just as easily, and they only had two points difference, so it was very close.
yeah. Then White Load got fifth place with another browser demo called
Yeah, they just
Prelude.
keep the brothers just keep improving. I'm just really intrigued to see that their WebGL engine just keeps kind of getting better and their effects are great, but they always seem to kind of miss on the direction part. Like I really think they could use a good designer in that group because they have two good coders, but not a designer really in that group.
I mean, they're missing like a global vision of what a winner demo would be for them
Maybe.
to be able to
I'm just glad
execute.
to always see them participate though, because it's
Yeah,
always like they always do browser stuff. Like it's just great to see that they kind of stick to their guns and just keep improving what they're working on.
yeah, and in the middle of so many, demos that were submitted, made in Unity, made in Unreal, made in Notch, it's good to see something that like they're
For
doing
sure.
their own engine, even if it's running on a browser. You had to do the 3D engine yourself.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
even Adapt's kind of moved on to Notch now because I can understand Deeper. It's
that
probably
deeper
way
works for
easier for Hell
Notch.
to make. Yeah, it's way easier for him to make effects on that.
Then we had Musutasita demo for Linux,
My
getting
layback
sixth
groupie,
place.
I know that from heart. That Unicode, that's the bread emoji, essentially. I think
Hmm.
that Unicode point, and yeah, obviously they did. This is probably their magnum opus. They always only do bread themed demos for assembly. I don't know. They're probably from Uvascula. That's the only guess I have why they're like that. Why they make only these. This one probably was the funniest one so far.
In seventh place, we had RT Lauren by Astral, single person production. As far as I know, it's pretty solid demo for a
Very
single
Unreal
person.
Engine look. I can tell immediately, but it looked great. Great ray tracing effects on the ground and materials. Really looked nice.
Which one was the one that was like all artistic looking with that interesting rendering technique, or am I confusing with another party? I think it was on this one.
This one
Uh,
had like a very kind of cyberpunkish ray trace look to it, I guess.
so it
Very
wasn't this one.
minimalistic. RT Lauren.
I'm gonna figure it out later.
Yeah.
Eternal Embrace by Ivory Labs. Was surprised that they placed so low. They usually place a bit
Yeah.
higher. That was pretty solid
Yeah,
overall.
this one had a few really cool looking cuts. I saw a Muffin Hop and the others, obviously my friends. So I saw some of this stuff while they were working on it and heard what's coming. Obviously, a very touching tribute there at the end for Mog as well. So
Hmm.
rest in peace.
Yep. Rip. Uh, And then we have to talk about Mikocom, who always gets very lowly placed despite their their
This is
stylish demo.
absolutely a crime. This should have definitely been on top 3 in my opinion. Like Evil Paul and Canil just killing it on the style with the software rendering in 640, 480 in the browser. It's just its own kind of special madness to do them like this, but man, they just like every cut is a little bit different. You always like, even if you have the same effect, it's always going to be a little bit of a different thing, and just the timing has that UK scene all stars magic. You know what I'm talking about. Like
It,
whatever Evil Paul touches, he just has
is
this
it the
like
arrows?
DJ brain. Well, arrows too, but he has this. I guess it's an old UK club brain he has. Like everything is just so tightly like synchronized to the music, and just like visualizes the tune so well. I just love everything he does. I don't think he's ever done a demo that he didn't enjoy. So whatever he does, I usually like it.
Canil.
Yeah, Canil and Evil Paul. Yeah.
I wish they kind of had made it for MS DOS though instead of the browser, because it
It would
has
be
the MS
wonderful to
DOS
see like a
resolution.
Pentium thing from them for sure.
Yeah, like a old school demo.
Yeah,
Like it
it's
has
kind of a
the.
pain in the ass to program for, though. I have to say, PCM makes it a little bit easier these days.
Yep, that's true. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, I think that's all we have in terms of. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, there are
I
a
can
few
mention the
other entries.
10th one by my friend
Yep.
Mikko TDB, the Data Beaver. It was a scrolly party invitation. This is the computer magazine and that Wisnut and some other demoscene people originally founded. Now it's like on the hands of not directly scene people, but there's still some scene related people still involved with that magazine. A lot of friends and well-wishers and exes still working on that machine. So it's really cool to see that Mikko is the one that still pushes that Scrolly has its own like small demo party. So a lot of people who don't really come to other parties go there because it's a very kind of friendly to beginners and people who don't really are active in any demo scene or anything like that. So just wonderful to see that first of all the magazine's still running after all these years, and that we can have this party again. We've had a few of these before.
It's really cool that they focus more for beginners sort of party, or that it's more beginner friendly.
Yeah.
I think Finland is one of the countries that does a better job in like being open to newcomers. Like there are so many events that they have. Graphathon.
Yeah, Graphathon and this definitely are the ones that are, and in Jyväskylä the demo party there. The what's it called again?
Instancy.
Instance.
So that's really cool because all other countries that I see are usually like old comers doing the demo scene event how it used to be, and they don't really care if new people get into it or they don't get into it. They sometimes they have like a small corner to introduce new demo sceners, or but there's never like a dedicated event for that. Well, Mountain Bytes try to replicate the Graphathon concept, and I hopefully other parties will try to do it as well. And we kind of need it. I think the only countries who try to pay more attention to that are countries where the demo scene is already very low. Like Japan has attention to that, Argentina has attention to that. We here in Portugal try to have attention to that because all the big scene countries, they usually don't pay attention to those things that is like critical to get new blood into the demo scene. You need to be more friendly towards the newcomer, so it's not always the same people over and over again doing the same demos. You need new blood.
Definitely, that's why it was great to see like Silvia and Mielikki, for example. I think Mielikki was also somebody who I don't think had ever done anything at Assembly, or if they had, it was under a different name, and they took like 4th place in 1K with the fish 1K with the speed synth. So that was really cool to see like new people trying their hat at this, and not even the easiest combos, like going for the intro combos as well, which have a very high bar of entry to even make something for those. You have to learn a bunch of things to even get there.
Yep, definitely.
So Assembly is still doing well. Assembly is extremely popular. There's still a bunch of people who don't even go to the party hall at all. They just stay outside all weekend.
Did you manage to catch Boozodrome?
I did not. Sadly, I had to be on another combo at the same time, so that
Yeah.
sadly it was kind of overbooked. So hopefully next year we can kind of
Was one of
try
the
to put them, not put them at the same time, because Boozodrome is completely unofficial. It's not organized by Assembly. It's
yeah,
got nothing to do with Assembly
but
organizing.
isn't Bright Light involved in the demo scene organizing as well? He must
Yes,
have
but not at
known.
Assembly. Not at Assembly, he isn't anymore. So it's kind of
Ah,
its own side event
okay.
at Assembly. So it's nothing to do with the official organizing, but obviously it's great. I love that it's there. But there's nothing done from inside the hall to facilitate that. It just happens on its own.
We
Just
were
like
we were
Assembly, it just happens.
Yeah, it just happens. We were done with the with the demo. We submitted it, and then we were looking at the schedule for stuff, and we just noticed, okay, it clashes with Boozodrome. Well, that's bad, and
Sadly.
it's only being played on the scene launch, not the main stage. We're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Come on!
I wasn't happy about that, but sadly, we don't really get any say over that. It's more of a okay, it's gonna be a scheduling thing, and there's only gonna be so many kind of limited spaces because there's a bunch of other stuff they show on the main screen, like esports. There was a K-pop thing this year. There's always so much programming at Assembly. So I'm just happy that we get at least get the scene launched. So now we don't have to like, okay, the combos will be 2 hours late because we're gonna wait for some esports finale to run out or whatever.
For the
So now
StarCraft
we're kind of
final.
very tightly scheduled at Assembly. That really can't happen anymore. We are very tightly. It's almost like running like a TV production these days. Like Assembly really runs on a minute schedule.
The seminars, will they be online? Because I don't think they're online yet.
Yeah, I think usually they do go through the video on demand pipeline like everything else that's videoed at Assembly. So
'Cause,
hopefully, I can ask about that, but hopefully
yes,
they will
please
be
do, because
available.
I'm very interested in Navis
Yeah,
seminar.
yeah, there's a bunch of things that people will definitely want to see. Like he really went into detail how that demo and his kind of pipeline and the tech they use work. So there's a lot of interesting things there.
Um, Fantasy console definitely gonna be on
If I
assembly
have any
next year.
say over it, it was my compo. I'm the one who suggested it. I'm the one who basically makes it happen. So I'm the fantasy console like
Pusher lobbyist.
pusher and the lobbyist in the organizing. So just seeing how big it was and how people responded to it and how what a popular compo it was and what great entries was there like this year. I
And
think
I heard
definitely
that
we're gonna do it next
revision.
year. I'm gonna try to do an Invi for next assembly in TK80 for next year to kind
That
of
would be
push it even
nice.
more. Yeah.
I heard revision organizers are also planning to have a fantasy console compo. There
Oh,
were
that
like
would be perfect for the
five.
assembly invitation next year then.
Yeah, yeah, that
I
would be a
definitely
good
do
timing
that.
for
If
that as
that's the
well.
case, I'm gonna do a big Invi.
Nice, nice. And I also heard from Mayor that maybe there would be a fantasy console music competition. Which I don't completely agree. I think there's so many music compos already at assembly,
Yeah,
and fantasy consoles are so annoying to track because all the trackers have like quirks that they're just
for
crap
sure.
to work with. It would make more sense to mix fantasy console music with old school music and have a compo dedicated, to chip
Yeah.
tune or limited chips, something that doesn't play a sample. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but definitely interesting that so many people are interested in fantasy consoles overall, and it is an
Yeah.
easier accessible platform to get started and do stuff, and so I definitely understand the charm in it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm caught up in it as well,
Same.
so yeah.
It was just fun to do like a big track mo. I'm now done like 2 big track mods on TK80, and it's just so wonderful because it has all these kind of limitations like an 8-bit would, but you also have a lot of ways to use the kind of custom ways of rendering stuff on different layers and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
very heavily use that in my demo. Like most of the scenes have BDR and OVR running in every scene and doing something weird with that. So just kind of seeing what's possible is really, really wonderful on an open source platform like that.
Yeah, and you don't have to be coding assembler, because I wanted,
Nope.
when I was thinking of new platforms to target, I was actually trying to do stuff for the ZX Spectrum, and I learned a bit of the assembler, and I saw the limitations, and I realized I have to reinvent the wheel all over
Yep.
again that people
Pretty
already
much.
have invented for 20 years. And I I
Yeah,
find
this is
assembly
why it took
cute.
me 20 years to make an C64 Trackmo. I haven't made one since because it killed me to do that by myself over a summer. So I was like, okay, it's gonna be like 3 months of very intense focused work to do a
Yeah,
Trackmo,
because
and it's
I like
still gonna
assembly as
destroy me
a
at the end of it.
I like assembly as like a coding language. I find it cute. I find it interesting. I like all the quirks and small Lego pieces. But when we're trying to do big picture, and you realize that you have to do so many small things just to connect everything else and test everything independently, it just
Yeah.
becomes
Yeah,
work.
like
And
doing a single
it's
effect is fine, but doing like a synced track mode to music is just like
yeah.
there's just so many billion bugs you have to fix, and every single frame glitch when you transition from one effect to another. It just took me a month of work just to make the flow feel good in that, and that was a pretty simple demo for C64. So yeah, like all the hats off to anybody who can have the
Yeah.
fortitude and the tool set and know how to get through those. I'll
Yeah,
probably still keep doing 8-bit demos, but actually currently we're working on a Nintendo 64 thing. So let's see what if that turns out to be anything. But that's been a very interesting platform to work on because essentially it's OpenGL these days.
Okay. Don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
LibDragon is the way to go these days. So essentially you get a full like OpenGL style C interface to Nintendo 64 programming. It's really cool.
Okay. You're talking about Nintendo 64 or
Yeah,
something else?
Nintendo 64. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
So
have a few
possibly
friends who do some Nintendo
something
64
coming there.
stuff.
I have done some effects for the
Was
Fujitsu
a CCE that
FM7.
did something for the Nintendo 64
Yeah,
on Evoke?
exactly. So
That was really
he did
good.
he did some useful tools that we've been using to convert like
Nice.
light mapped Blender scenes into Nintendo 64 light map scenes. So those are
Hmm.
you can get some really cool looking stuff out of that.
Nice.
But yeah, I've
Interesting.
also done some effects for the Fujitsu FM7, which is a really strange beast. It has like the same processor as the Dragon, the 6809, I think, but it has two of them, and the other one is the GPU, which is like one of the most bizarre ways to do a display chip that I have ever seen. Like you have two of the same processor, except the one is basically just running in like slave or batch mode or whatever you'd like to call it. You can't directly like program it. Technically you can, but like technically you're supposed to just send it commands, almost like a shader unit or like the copper on Amiga or something like that, like a
Hmm.
separate processor, and then you just wait it to draw to the display memory.
From
But
what year was that?
what it actually has, it has like all the R bits, and then all the G bits and all the B bits. So it's essentially like planar graphics with like bit planes in memory, but for an 8-bit. So it's very slow to just do any bitmaps because you essentially have to write like 3 bits for every bitmap. So it's gonna be very slow to move like a bitmap around and stuff like that because it's like all the R bits are sequential in memory, then all the G bits. It's one of the weirdest systems, but they included like a hidden programming mode. If you send like a magic string in the port and a specific like byte command, then it goes into this like special mode where you can directly upload a program and execute that on the second processor. So that's like the trick to do
Hmm.
effects on it. You have to go into like a hidden developer mode and then upload your copper list or your display list in there to get the thing going. So it's very cool because it's essentially like a 6502, but you have more opcodes to write 16-bit stuff because it was more like a recent processor that had
Uh,
more like 16-bit memory access features and stuff like that.
I was checking Wikipedia page. It was released in November 1982.
Yep. So this was probably one of the first like proper like home computers with a proper bitmap screen. So you can tell that this was made for kanji rendering. Like it's 640 by 200. So very good for rendering kanji in the 80s. So definitely built for the Japanese market because
Hmm.
it can do like perfect bit like addressing of the screen. So you can do the Japanese text on it and all that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's in the
That's
future for you. All right.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. Two processors at the same time and synchronizing all of that somehow.
Um, what about for assembly? What's the follow up for assembly? Are there any? I
Well, in
guess.
addition to the fantasy console Envy, I hope 1K and 4K will be a thing next year as well.
Mhm.
ASD
Okay.
will probably take another year off. I don't think they're gonna be back next year. Hopefully, it's not gonna be another 5 years.
And what's up with Assembly Winter? Because they've been starting to have compos there as well, but like not as many demo scene presence as the summer. Is it
Yeah,
going to be
it's
more?
almost like being the more gamer event. Like I went to the first one as an organizer, but I've never been since because they don't have any like real time compos really. So it is great that they have at least some, but like I don't pay much attention to what happens there.
Okay.
It's just great that they have 2 events every year, so they have more money for the summer one. As long as we get like prize money for the compos and all the resources we need to do the scene launch and have proper compos, I'm not gonna complain about winter.
Wait, was there prize money? Because I don't remember getting any.
No, they're always kind of paid afterwards. So as long as you have your payment info in
Okay.
Partyman, it
Okay.
always takes a while for that to get sorted. But yes, there's definitely some money coming your way. I think it was
Okay.
300 euros for the winner of Fantasy Console,
Oh, wow.
if I'm not mistaken. So you'll definitely get a little bit at least for your
300
efforts.
divided by 16 people.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna be much for
I'm
each,
going to be
but
drinking a whole beer.
exactly. That's what you get when you have too many coders and
It's good.
graphics
It's
and
good.
musicians on your demo. You have to split the wigs.
I wasn't even expecting it.
Yeah,
I was
it's not
expecting.
about
This
it's
is
not
what I
about
was
the money.
expecting from
I
assembly. I
always
was
want the money to
expecting.
go to the people who travel to the party the farthest
I was
and have to spend
expecting.
their money.
I was expecting a trophy. I was expecting a certificate, and I was expecting a fingerprint reader. These are the only three things I was expecting from assembly compo.
People in the organizing still have like PTSD from those fingerprint scanners.
Yep. And we made a joke in our demo about that.
Yeah,
The
you did.
fingerprint reader.
I'm really glad you did the opera scene about that. That
Yep.
really captured the feeling of that event at the old assembly, which I was also in the audience for that. That was a fun evening.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much for this interview. I think it was good aftermath
you.
of assembly. Maybe I'll edit it, putting some images of the stuff that we were talking about.
Sounds good.
Still have to figure that out. But thank you so much for your time, and
Yeah,
see you
thanks for
around.
doing this. It was just great just to kind of exchange ideas with you. And you
Yep.
often do this by yourself, so I think it's just like
Yeah.
a fun break in your format to have a discussion instead of you
Yeah, yeah,
trying
yeah.
to break
I
them
want to
out
do more
down yourself.
interviews. Yeah, definitely. It's better to bounce ideas off someone than
Yeah,
just
because you'll have a
be.
different taste than me, and we both
Mhm.
kind of will have a different outlook and a different viewpoint on this, anyways.
Yep, definitely. Okay, bye bye. Take care.
Thank you. Have a
Thanks
nice
for
time.
joining.
See you later. Bye bye.